Hey guys, this is Manny. I wanted to record a video showing you how to use these new Tudor GMT watches that we purchased as a group. A lot of you may not have previously owned a mechanical watch, and you may not know how to operate it, take care of it. And also, this may be your first GMT watch, and there's some differences between a normal three-handed watch and a GMT watch, which has four hands. So I'm going to explain to you how it works, how to set the time so that you can operate it across different time zones and get the most out of its GMT functionality. And I'm going to teach you how to take care of it over time. It's a very rugged piece of kit. This watch has 200 meters of water resistance. It'll take a beating. Like, you don't need to baby this watch. And this is not a battery operated watch. This is a mechanical watch. That means that it runs off a mainspring that powers an internal mechanism. And as long as you wear this watch on your wrist every day, it's not gonna run out of charge. You can run it for years as long as you run it every day, and it's never gonna stop running. Every now and then you're gonna have to reset the time because it's gonna drift a little. So you may have to, depending on how picky you are about having an accurate watch, you can reset the time it may lose a few minutes every 2 weeks or every month. But it's a pretty accurate watch. It's rated for, I believe, -4 plus 5 seconds per day, but I measured this one and it's doing much better than that. It's losing like half a second every day. So I plan to just run it, and then, every time I go to work, maybe I'll just readjust, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So first, let's talk about the watch itself. You have what we call a local hour hand, which is the normal hour hand you're used to in any other watch. You have a minutes hand, and you have a seconds hand. And then you have a fourth hand here, which is the GMT hand. Now, some people may choose to set that to your home time, like where your family lives. I prefer to set it to actual GMT time so that I can use the bezel to offset the time. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna wait for the seconds hand to reach 12 o'clock. I'm gonna pull the crown, and then I'm gonna pull the crown all the way. The crown has two positions. If you pull it all the way, it's gonna hack, what we call hacking the seconds hand. It's gonna stop the seconds hand. Now, instead of setting the watch by adjusting the hour hand, we're gonna talk about that later. Set it by setting this long GMT hand to whatever time you choose. In my case, I'm gonna use GMT time, which is UTC or Zulu time. Why? Because as airline pilots, our operation runs out of GMT time. That's when we pull the brakes, and you guys know the drill. And also, by setting it to GMT time, I can use this rotating bezel to find different time zones on the fly. So let's say that I want to know the time in New York and I'm somewhere else. All I got to do is do -4 hours. And now this will show New York time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what UTC is, which is 1751. And I'm going to set the bezel to be aligned. So the two triangles, the top triangle is pointing at the one at the 12 o'clock position. And I'm going to look for that time, which is UTC time, which happens to be, if this is 18, then 17 is close to 18 because it's almost 18. And I'm going to select 1753. It's roughly in that area. I'm not, I'm looking through a camera, so I can't see very well. And I'm going to wait for UTC time for the clock to roll over to 53 minutes, and then I'm going to push the crown in. So the reason we're doing this is so that when we push the crown in, now your GMT hand will be running out of Zulu time, out of GMT time, and then we're gonna set the local hour hand to whatever place you're in. So now the watch is set. Now the seconds hand is running, and the watch is set to GMT time. Now, after I push the crown in, I'm gonna pull it to the first position. So just pull it slightly. You're gonna hear one click, but the seconds hand is gonna keep running. At that position, I can adjust the local hour hand to whatever position I want. And if you go over the 12 o'clock position 2 times, it's going to advance the date. And you can do it backwards too. So basically, let's say that I'm flying to, I don't know, let's say that I'm going to LA. In LA, it's 10:53 a.m. and today's the 14th. So I'm gonna go back. So now it's 13. I'm gonna advance it to 14 and I'm gonna go to 10 a.m. 10:53 a.m. So that's my local time. See, I leave the GMT hand on GMT time and I adjust the local hour hand to wherever it is I'm going. Let's say that I'm going to Hawaii now. I take my watch and I roll it back I think it's another 3 hours. Now I'm in Hawaii time. And so on. If you're going to Japan, you just push it forward, whatever, 13 hours. So wherever you're physically in or you're going to, you set the local hour hand. The GMT stays on GMT time. And then the trick is that wherever I am, if I want to know the time at home, I'm going to turn the bezel. New York is UTC -4. So I turn the bezel to UTC -4, and now the GMT hand is pointing at New York time, which is almost 2 o'clock, 14. Very easy. If, let's say that tomorrow I'm going to somewhere that's UTC plus 13 hours. Well, what I do is I just click it over to 13. And by looking at the UTC hand, I know that whatever that is, it's almost 7 a.m. And as you travel, you can keep adjusting the local hour in hand to whatever you are, and you adjust the bezel to somewhere else that you want to track time. Like I want to keep it at home time so that I don't wake the baby up when I call home. So that's the way I use my GMT hand. Some people use the GMT hand for tracking home time, but I find that a little tedious because then when I'm going somewhere else, if I want to use the bezel, then I gotta know the offset from home time to that place rather than from GMT time. And it's easier to remember the offsets for GMT because they're standard, -5, -4, and so on. And I just use the bezel to track my home time. And that way I can keep the GMT hand on GMT time so that I can track our operation. You know, when I wake up, I want to know the time to block out. So that's it for setting the time. The other things you got to know about a mechanical watch is that you got to wind it if it's not running. Let's say that you received the box and it's not running. Well, all you got to do is the crown is locked in. You're going to turn the crown counterclockwise and it's going to pop out. And just leave it in that position. And you just turn it about 20 times before you wear it. And it's going to start running and you can set the time. And then after that, after you wind it and set the time and wear the watch, it'll keep running. You don't need to wind it again. It has a power reserve of 70 hours. So it can, that's almost 3 days that you can lay the watch down on a table, not use it. It'll run for quite a while, for almost 3 days. So that's pretty convenient. Always remember to screw the crown back in because you're going to lose a lot of water resistance if the crown is not all the way in. And if you go swimming, you may introduce water inside. Speaking of swimming, this is water resistant to 200 meters. So you can go diving with this thing. It's practically a dive watch with a GMT functionality. What else? The bracelets. You're going to receive it. It's not going to be sized. It's very easy to resize. It has some screws. The links have some screws that you can use a jeweler, like a eyeglass, like a small flathead screwdriver to take links out and then just resize it to whatever size you need. And then for the clasp, you can fine tune it with like a little pin tool, like the one you would use for taking out a SIM card from a smartphone. Other than that, this watch is, don't baby it, just wear it all the time. It's gonna pick up scratches over time. It's gonna make it look cooler. Like, don't be afraid of scratches. It's just part of it. And about every 5 years, Tudor recommends that you send it in for a service. So yeah, if the watch starts running a little slow over a 5-year period, it's gonna need to be serviced so they can re-lubricate it and change the gaskets. to make sure that it's still water resistant. But yeah, it doesn't have a battery, so you don't need to worry about changing batteries or anything like that. And that's about it. Just a little bit of history. These Tudors are recreating what Rolex did back in the day with Pan Am. They created the Rolex GMT Master 2, which was originally made for Pan Am pilots to keep track of multiple time zones, like I just explained. So it's a very convenient timepiece. That's why we chose it. These days, the Rolex, is very hard to get, and it's more jewelry than, it's still a very rugged and robust watch. I love Rolex. I'm wearing one right now, but this one is more of a tool watch. It's more something that I'm not afraid of getting mugged or getting banged around and having the bezel shatter, because this bezel is sapphire. It could shatter. Not this one. This is aluminum. This is a very, this thing can survive a nuclear apocalypse because it's a tool for work. And that's why I think it's a great watch for us to wear, to take with us around the world. You can take it on layovers and not be afraid that you're gonna get mugged for it. You can go diving with it, you can go hiking with it, you can go mountain climbing with it. This thing is gonna survive whatever you throw at it, and you don't need to baby it. And it's an awesome watch, and I'm glad we got it. I mean, I'm very pleased with it. It's a very cool watch. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope to see you guys on the line wearing this, and it's gonna be kind of cool to see who has it and who doesn't have it. Take care.